Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind top signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I'm thrilled to have Calvert Collins-Bratton on as a guest. And Calvert is the Chief Relationship Officer for the Communities Foundation of Texas. And each year in September, they do an incredible event called North Texas Giving Day. And it is actually the most successful single-day fundraising event in the United States. This past year's, in 2025, raised $78 million. So we're going to kind of talk about how Calvert and her organization are able to galvanize a community with thousands of nonprofits and tens, if not hundreds of thousands of donors to really create community impact on a massive scale. So this is a segment I've been looking forward to for a long time, and I'm really thrilled to have her here today. So with that, Calvert, welcome, and I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
Thank you, Rob. I always say there is no fundraising without fun. So this is the perfect podcast.
I'm glad you and I are on the same page with that. So, for anyone who's not familiar, share what the mission of Communities Foundation of Texas is.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the opportunity, Rob. Well, for more than 70 years, Communities Foundation of Texas has been building thriving communities for all. While we focus more of our grant making here in the North Texas region, we're based in Dallas, but because we manage donor advised funds and other funds, we do facilitate giving around the world. So wherever there is need, we are supporting donor intentions wherever they choose to give. I like to tell people, whatever your passion is, our job is to grow it so that you can have more impact whatever that is. So we've been facilitating that and also grant making ourselves since 1953. So we are here to stay, and North Texas Giving Day is just one additional tool we have in our toolkit.
And it's a very, very significant tool, and I can't wait to chat about that in a minute. But, I'm always fascinated how people get to where they are. And the thing is, being on, hosting this show, everyone has a different path to how they got to where they are, especially in the nonprofit world. So talk about how you initially got involved with Communities Foundation of Texas and what makes you so passionate about it.
Sure. Well, I certainly love the idea that we are, fairly broad, building thriving communities. We focus on health, wealth, living, and learning. So that encompasses a lot of the needs in our community. So I was first drawn to that breadth, but also the depth of work that we do, because as a funder ourselves, our staff does a lot of due diligence on the nonprofits who are doing the work on the ground, where the needs are, and then who else is supporting. So like that value and leverage is very meaningful to me, but also to a lot of our donors and even in the broader community itself. Because CFT is a large funder, when we grant to something, it's a little bit of a good housekeeping seal of approval. So that brings others along. And so there's a lot of work internally that we do as a team, making sure that the organizations we're supporting and partnering with are, in good standing with the IRS. They're doing the work that they say they're doing. And we invest in, the people in those organizations as well as the communities that they're impacting. So I'm a seventh generation Texan who, when I went to college out of the state of Texas, I swore I'd never come back. I'm the one. And so when I had the opportunity to come back for work, and I was a television reporter, that was my first career, my first tour of duty. And so I got to see as a reporter a lot of times where the needs were and who was helping. Because I think there's a misnomer in our society that the government can pay for everything. The almighty tax dollar, can extend, and you pay your taxes and then everything should be fine. Well, public dollars don't go as far as they used to. And so that's where nonprofits really pick up the slack in our communities and often don't get the attention for doing so. So I think that's one reason that when I had the opportunity to join the CFT team, I jumped at that chance because I see where the needs are, who's doing the work, and how we can bring more funders to the table.
That's absolutely incredible. And you're right. It takes there was another guest from Dallas named Lisa Cooley who once said it takes a
Yes.
village, and you're kind of demonstrating the various needs of the village, that it's not just the government, but it's also the nonprofits that act as a partner, a conduit, whatever you want to say or phrase with
Mhm.
that. And, in your answer, you had talked about North Texas Giving Day. So explain how it works, because, when you say to someone, yes, 35, there's 3,500 nonprofits and we've raised $78 million, that's a lot for someone to grab their head around. So kind of explain the concept of it, kind of how it came to be,
Sure.
and what exactly, how exactly it works.
If Rob, if you had told me that there were 3,500 nonprofits in North Texas, I wouldn't have believed you. That just again speaks to the breadth of need that is out there. And it's a 20 county area. So it's not just like Dallas and Fort Worth. It's really from the Red River to the Oklahoma border all the way south almost to Waco. So it's a pretty large area. It's really, I guess, about 8, 9 million people. So it was North Texas Giving Day was a concept started in 2009. There were other foundations, similar community foundations across the country that had tried this as kind of a galvanized giving event to bring donors and nonprofits together. Because what is the number one thing nonprofits need? Funding. Who are the funders? The donors. And so, but sometimes nonprofits kind of sometimes don't have a large swath of either appeal or just outreach. They just don't know how to get to more people. And so the idea was, if we could be that matchmaker between bringing the nonprofits and bringing the donors to the table, that they might meet each other and give to more, the donors may give to more organizations because now they have awareness of them. So back in 2009, we had a few hundred participating nonprofits, and we raised $4 million, which was a valiant effort in that year. In 2009, there was the recession. There was certainly a lot of need and different needs than there are today. And so we have just grown over that time period. We've built our own software. We've realized we've outgrown that and used vendors. And so now we are the largest regional giving event in the country. But there are our sister foundations in Colorado, Minneapolis, and Miami have now done the same thing and galvanized, donors and nonprofits to come together for this giving event. And so ours culminates, North Texas Giving Day culminated on September 18th, but it actually kind of softly started right before Labor Day so that people could give in advance, but it would all count on, the day itself. Because what we realized over the course of the last 17 years is people forget. And they were like, oh my gosh, I meant to give on that day, or I set a calendar reminder, and then they would forget. It's human nature. We're all busy. So we realized we were better off to start a few weeks in advance and then build up to that day. And so that has been hugely beneficial, as you mentioned. 3,500 nonprofits, over 78 million given this year from over 100,000 unique donors.
That's just an incredible amount of people. That really showcases how a community can just really band together and give to multiple different things. It's just, I really find that to be just, so incredibly cool. But I want to go back to the thing about the soft launch, because I think it's such a clever idea, because I think, since we're just in such a fast world now, the taking things literally is just, it's much harder to do than it used to be. So talk about, what made you come up with that soft launch strategy
Mhm.
initially, and how that's really helped amplify your fundraising efforts over the years. Because to me, that probably is one of the critical foundations to the success of it.
Absolutely. I mean, we've learned from our own mistakes and successes, and we've branded it early giving. So you used to be able to schedule your gift, but it wouldn't hit until the day of. Now it actually gets processed from the Thursday before Labor Day. We would always start that Thursday. So it would actually count towards the nonprofit's goal, immediately, but it kind of all the totals came in. The totals really didn't populate until the day of
Hmm.
North Texas Giving Day. So what it did was it inspired nonprofits to get out their message early before September. Like as people, people aren't really until like people come back from the summer, because it's miserably hot here in August. So people in their right mind leave in August and then they come back like right around Labor Day, school starting, all that. And so it was, we encourage, and what we provide nonprofits a toolkit, a marketing toolkit. They can use this verbiage. They can, in their emails and their postcards and their mailings, but then also we encourage them to have a particular fundraising strategy. So let's say, the breast cancer nonprofit wants to raise money for something that's tangible. All right, so you give a bulleted list. $100 pays for one mammogram. $50 pays for a bone density test. $75 is a preventive care visit, patient care visit, something that's tangible to a donor. And so that really also helps spawn fundraising interest. And so, but also using that, they can get match funds offline that they report to us. So let's say they know North Texas Giving Day is every September, but they really have a donor that's, hot to do something for this cherished nonprofit. Well, nonprofits will often ask those donors, hey, well, can we apply this gift towards a match for North Texas Giving Day? And it just is a way to inspire more donors that their dollars are going to be matched or doubled or tripled, whatever. And then the nonprofits report the dollar amount offline because they may have gotten it from a check or from a stock gift, but they put that on their giving page as a way to inspire more giving. And that always works really well for almost every nonprofit. They do much better if they have a match going into the Giving Day kind of campaign season.
So, what do you think is the key to getting an organization to match? Because I'm sure you get a ton of requests to do that. So, what are the keys to one, getting a match, but then two, successfully promoting it so that, it really does truly multiply?
So I would say that if you have a nonprofit, their development directors, should have in the back of their mind as they're soliciting gifts, maybe over the summer or even in the fall, but earmarking a couple donors. Maybe it's your board, maybe it's previous donors, lapsed donors, but kind of target, 5 to 10, depending on the amount that you want to have to say is your match. But really kind of doing personal outreach to those folks to say, hey, we really want to help show that this is a great Giving Day, North Texas Giving Day event for us. Would you be willing to make your annual gift in September so that we can count it towards this match? And sometimes it's a timing thing. Sometimes it may be, you're in the middle of a giving campaign. It could be capital, it could be programmatic, but trying to steer your donors, whether it's your board or other donors, really around this is a giving event and their dollars are going to incentivize other donors to support that cause if it's around the Giving Day platform. Plus, at Communities Foundation of Texas, because this is our event, because we spearhead it, we also underwrite the cost. So all credit card fees we pay for all of credit card fees. So that way the nonprofit doesn't have to. So your donor dollars go a little farther if you give through Giving Day, through the Giving Day website, than if you just gave on the nonprofit's website.
That's incredible. And it really shows how your dollars can be amplified in so many ways, and explaining, a dollar becomes $1.50 or $1.75 or $2. It really allows people to feel like they're making more of an impact. And I also like that explanation earlier that, $100 can save a life, like with a mammogram. Like it's really simple for someone to be like, well, what can my $100 do? That's right. It can literally save somebody's life. So it's, there's all kinds of interesting ways how you can brand that.
Anything that's tangible and relatable to a donor. That's what, we see that the average donation through North Texas Giving Day is about $220. So that's not insignificant. I mean, it's not $20. So at $220 something, like that you get a few of those, like that's meaningful to your bottom line. We get a lot of animal organizations. Well, we know that $100 can pay for vaccines for your a dog or cat. It can pay for spay and neuter services. There are tangible benefits to a dollar, that dollar for dollar. And so I think there are schools, there are after school programs that use the North Texas Giving Day website. That pays for 2 hours of tutoring for an underserved child. Anything that can be more relevant and relatable to a donor, that's where we suggest not just putting, your mission statement and your cause, but something that is more tangible, has tangible benefit to a donor, and helping explain who the organization is and where the money's going.
Absolutely. Like, and if we use the breast cancer example, if you use that, it's like, well, I know someone who had breast cancer. I had, a
Of
friend, a
course.
classmate, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's easier for them to not only tangibly see it, but it's also easier for them to feel it.
Right. And, historically, the North Texas Food Bank, which is the largest regional food bank in our area, typically does the best because small dollars for them, they have, buying capacity. They can buy a lot in bulk, but a lot of folks don't realize without a strong central food bank, all the little pantries would have no inventory. And so it's the hub and spoke model. Like if the hub is suffering, all the spokes are going to more so that really touch, that have great impact in their smaller communities. So your dollars go farther because of the buying power of the larger food bank that supports all the pantries. So I'm not giving preferential treatment just to the larger food bank, but they're interconnected and really important for the smaller, more rural communities that don't have as many resources or donors as the more urban food bank does.
Absolutely. And my very first job was in technology distribution. So,
Mhm.
you got the big warehouse, but it's got to go everywhere. And that's exactly
Right.
what, the North Texas Food Bank does. And it showcases its importance. Now,
Mhm.
you had mentioned earlier, 3,500 nonprofits, and you had joked, I didn't realize there were that many in North Texas. But the truth of the matter is that 3,500 is really a small fraction of the total number of nonprofits
Mhm.
in the area. So how do you all vet these nonprofits so that they qualify and they are a part of North Texas Giving Day?
I'm glad you asked that, Rob, because that is really important that you have the nonprofit to qualify to be on the website. You have to be domiciled or serving North Texas. You have to be in good standing with the IRS. So, if you haven't turned in an audit in the last couple of years, like our grants team does that due diligence to make sure that anybody who's participating or wants to participate is federal rules and guidelines because we want to make sure donor dollars are going to where they're intended, but also to the organizations, operating in the highest and best use. So, those dollars are few and far between. And so that's the onus is on us to do that kind of work for the donor so that we can guarantee their dollars are going to not only where they intended, but to the organizations doing the good work and following the rules. So our team does all that due diligence. We also, I think, as I mentioned earlier, really try to arm the nonprofits. In many cases, they're very small. They might have a staff of one, if at all, staff. And so we say, look, you register to be on the site, you go through the due diligence process, but then we want to provide you with a toolkit of resources of how you can get the word out. You can, write those tangible benefits on your giving page. Here's how to connect to other donors, connect to other similarly aligned nonprofits so that they can have the best Giving Day experience possible.
That, thank you for explaining that. So, and the thing is that, that's a lot of money, $78 million and 100,000, getting that many people to, commit to donating. there's an actual process involved. So it's not like you can just say, hey, I'm going to put my nonprofit on the website and,
Right,
like being ordained online as a minister, I'll just type my name in and I got a certificate and I can marry
right.
anybody. So it's good that you all do that because people really want to know, especially since COVID, where their money's going
Mhm.
and that it's going to the right places. So I really appreciate you kind of highlighting that. And while we're on the subject of fundraising, how has North Texas Giving Day shaped and evolved your own
Mhm.
perspective on what
Oh.
fundraising is and what it's about and what it takes to be successful?
Well, I mean, it really shows that a rising tide raises all boats. And so by participating, we can't guarantee that every nonprofit's going to have a banner year. We did have quite a few who said, this is my 17th year participating, and it was our best one. And they had match funds they brought to the table. They got the word out. They may have had the right messaging, whatever they did. But I love hearing that because 17 years, it's hard to keep it fresh and new every year. So, we went to market this year and said, we can guarantee we are going to cover all credit card fees from through the whole year of Giving Day. So not just the September, Giving Day season as we call it, but all year round. If you give to your charity of choice through northtexasgivingday.org, all of those fees will be covered. And that's a nice break for the nonprofits as well. But I think they've learned that it's it's important to be in the company of others because all of a sudden there are 100,000 people going to this website at some point over the 4 weeks in September. Your likelihood of getting seen by some of those donors that you may not have had any exposure to prior is still higher than if you didn't participate. And we do a lot of media out to get people to, think about the website, talk about the website. We're on, radio, television, print, just talking about NorthTexasGivingDay.org. We separate nonprofits, they self-select in cause areas. We know some people are only going to give in health or only going to give in animals. But I would say what we've seen from donor behavior is that they don't always stick to one cause area. Because you're there, you might as well see, well, what's over here in the environment and conservation area? Well, there's homeless and food insecurity and other needs and more of the social services domain. Well, I should learn more about that. I've never heard of that organization. I can tell you just, pool of one, I give so much more now through my donor advised fund than I ever did through credit cards because I'm already on the website. I'm like, oh, well, oh yeah, saw great work that they did over here in this zip code. And oh, that's similar to the agricultural work that this urban farm did over here. And I just hop around and I give so much more to many more organizations because it's all in one place.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I've found is a lot of high net worth individuals will often do a really small donation at events like the $102, $200 donation. I don't want to say as a test, but to just see,
Mhm.
will they get followed up on? Will they say thank
Yeah,
you? Will they showcase how that, how that little bit made a big difference? And you can cultivate more donor relationships and more major gifts through this once you do the research of who's given.
absolutely. The food bank is a great example because they get a lot of small donors. They will take that list of donors and steward them all year long and end up turning what was maybe a $50 donation into 5,000 because they don't even have to market to new donors. They basically use the donor list from North Texas Giving Day, and that's their marketing and their new donor list for the year. And so then they just steward them really well, showcase them, bring them in for tours and for volunteer shifts, and uh, and bring those donors closer to the cause and end up turning those small dollars into much larger ones. That's not going to be for everyone, but we have seen that work really well. And we will have nonprofits say to us this is the only fundraising we do all year. This is our gala. We'd rather spend the time and effort inexpensively marketing to our existing donors, and maybe they'll buy a list or they'll tangentially, they'll find another similarly aligned nonprofit and kind of, commingle donors. But they will use this because it's so inexpensive for them to participate. They will make this is their Super Bowl. And we love, championing that and being that conduit, because a small investment can have huge reward.
Absolutely. And, we've been talking a lot about, individuals giving to nonprofits, but it's important to note that North Texas Giving Day also has lots of businesses that are involved as well,
That's a
in
great
addition to
point.
the individuals. So I'd love for you to kind of elaborate on one, how an organization can get businesses involved, or how, you all get, businesses involved. And secondly, what advice would you give to someone looking to reach out to multiple segments of their community simultaneously, because that's essentially what people are doing with and teaching.
Yes, and I mean corporate giving has decreased, year over year. It's individuals are still far and away the biggest donors, but so Communities Foundation of Texas has a business unit, the Center for Business Impact, and they are kind of think about it like an outsourced corporate foundation. So they oversee grant making, volunteer opportunities, professional development, like-minded, like-hearted professionals. They do. We have Collab Lab where they learn from each other about a particular topic and all participate. It's kind of networking or therapy, depending on how you look at it. But many of those companies are very charitably inclined. And so they will set up their own giving pages. Sometimes they'll know which nonprofits they want to give to as a company. Sometimes they'll let their employees pick, and then they'll just match their donations at the end of the Giving Day season. We have an oil company that does that. And so their employees are not limited as to what nonprofits they can give to, and the company matches at 100%. So it is hugely meaningful. But we encourage companies to have a page. It's very inexpensive to sign up, but that's what is employee engagement. Employees want to know their companies care about where their employees live, work, and play. And so if they will support their employees, whether through payroll deductions or matching gifts to those organizations, that's very meaningful to the employees and certainly to the nonprofits, because it gives them exposure to new donors.
Absolutely. I mean, that's you explain that all, you explain that all so well, and just how each individual element can be done. And that, it's almost another match, because the businesses are also matching in addition to foundations or other matches. That's another way that a match can, can happen and can occur. And, we've talked a lot about Buzz, but you all have this really unique program, the Sponsored Prizes program. So I'd love for you to kind of talk
Yeah.
about what that is, maybe some of those prizes, and how it helps, the organization
Yeah.
drive that buzz and interest for North Texas Giving Day.
That's a great point. So the way that we're able to cover credit card fees is that we have corporate sponsors. We fundraise for the operations of North Texas Giving Day. So Amazon has been our 5-year title sponsor and has increased their spend every year with us. And just Amazon, among other sponsors, will give a certain percentage or certain dollars to specific nonprofits. We call them surprise and delights. So we'll go surprise the nonprofit that has been chosen by Amazon. Sometimes it's random. Sometimes it's, a choice of employees that'll say, oh, we really, want to support, homeless or supportive housing initiatives, because we've seen that that's a need in our community. And so the company will designate, $5,000, $10,000, certain amount, and we go surprise the organization that's impacting that cause area. And so it's a really meaningful way to connect the company to the organization and the cause that they're working in here in our backyard. So it's very gratifying for the companies, and it's direct impact. It's not just sending a check somewhere off, somewhere far in the distance, but employees get to be part of that, presentation that is an organization that they've heard about on, they've seen it on the news, they've heard about it, and that organization is making a big impact, in our community where we're living, working, and playing.
Very, very well said. And, one thing, in addition to promotion, I want to kind of piggyback off that with another question. And that is, what is one way you have seen a nonprofit really effectively or uniquely promote North Texas Giving Day to drive donations and drive awareness? Because there is a little bit of, I don't want to call it rivalry, but there's probably friendly
Yeah,
competition amongst the nonprofits,
heck
in
yeah.
doing that.
I mean, we live in a capitalist society. Like, a little competition is a good thing, right? So we've had some leaders of like CEOs or executive directors of nonprofits have offered to do some pretty crazy things. We had one who was willing to get a tattoo last year if they met a certain goal, both from their match funds and then also from donors through North Texas Giving Day. This year, she went skydiving. She jumped for a good cause. We've had all kinds of, dunk tanks, pies in your face, races. Some leaders are extremely competitive, and they really want to inspire their boards and their supporters and their donors to champion their cause, and they will do something outrageous as a token of appreciation, we'll say.
That's what we'll call it. But man, that is someone who is really committed, who is willing to put a tattoo on their body
No
because
kidding.
that,
A
that they leave
permanent
that
sign
job.
of their success.
Yeah, and they leave that job, they're never forgetting where they worked. So
I mean, I said, now you're kind of like you've almost taken a blood oath, like you're stuck. So, and then she did get the tattoo because they did reach their goal last year, and she did jump out of a plane this year because they met their goal. So she was flying for a good cause.
oh gosh, I can't imagine what she's probably gonna run across America, next year. That's gonna be
Yeah.
her thing. Like, I don't know where you go from that. Maybe take a SpaceX ship up to the moon or something. So
Unless, only if they're donating the seat. But
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty. I don't want to inspire. That is not a requirement
Yeah.
to be part of Giving Day, but I love the enthusiasm and whatever speaks to your donors and your supporters. More power to you.
Know your audience, and that's absolutely true. And we're coming up on time, but I'm really interested to hear your answer to this question. And that is, what is one thing all successful online fundraising events
Mm.
have in common?
Clear message, tangible benefit, has to be relatable, and I would say match funding. Those are the three, like mission, match funds, and tangible benefit. So really helping people understand, meeting the moment. This goes back to the mission and the tangible benefit. But if like there are a lot of capital campaigns happening right now in Dallas, but if people like can't find food, shelter, transportation, like it's really hard to motivate donors for like a nice shiny new building when there's need that's more relatable to a lot of people's lives. But if your donors really want to support that new shiny building, then you're going to market your cause, your message, and your mission to those donors. I think match funding always speaks to the credibility of the organization, what the mission you're doing now, and that can change. Your mission might stay the same, but your particular message for this campaign might be different. And then I think being able to explain where exactly the dollars are going to go, I think those are the three marks of a successful online campaign.
Well, those were just so well said, and I have really enjoyed every second of this segment. You can understand why this fundraising juggernaut, that's what we're going to call it today, is just the best in the country. And Calvert, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time today. This has just been such a pleasure.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Rob. I love talking about Giving Day, and it does live all year round, so people can still give to their favorite organizations, and we cover all those fees. So we just are here to support the nonprofits as much as we can, and to match make those donors makes my heart sing. But I'm not jumping out of an airplane. Be clear.
Good to know you can do all your help from the ground, and and that's where real change happens. It happens on the ground with people in their community that care. So,
Well said.
so North Texas Giving Day, benefiting the Community Foundations of Texas. The 2026 event will be held in the weeks leading up to September 17th,
Yes.
2026. For more information, please visit northtexasgivingday.org. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.